Emma's joining us online.
Cool. Right, we're recording.
Yes, we're
Right,
ready.
we'll start. Thank you all for coming along. Obviously, I'm not Paul and I'm not Emma. I look a little bit different. So unfortunately, we've kind of had COVID's run through the ranks, as we all know. So I'm kind of covering for Emma and Paul. Paul's on work duty in Morocco. Emma's, well, actually got a red nose. So obviously Emma's got COVID, so obviously she can't come. So apologies from Paul, apologies from Emma, apologies also from Janet again, who's got COVID. So thank you for Martin for stepping in for Janet. Thank you for the rest of you all for coming on. It is appreciated. Yeah, I think at one point yesterday afternoon we did think, is this going to happen? But yeah, we kind of got there. Just a couple of things, obviously. So I'm kind of deputising for obviously Paul as chair and Emma as vice chair, obviously. So I'm kind of hopping in at the last minute, pre or post COVID for me. So yeah, a couple of things. Obviously, if there is a fire tonight, the alarm goes off. We have got no planned drill, obviously, at this time of night. The exit is behind me or straight down the stairs, and obviously gather in the car park over the road. And just regarding obviously kind of recordings, etc., subject to standing order 4.1.3, person who attends a meeting is permitted to report on the meeting whilst the meeting is open to the public. To report means to film, photograph, make an audio recording of meeting proceedings, use other means of enabling persons not to present, to see or hear the meeting as it takes place, or later, or to report or to provide oral or written commentary about the meeting, so that the report or commentary is available as the meeting takes place or later to persons not present. Further detail is given in the Portstead Town Council filming and recording policy, policy C8, and the Portstead Town Council behavioural policy 4.1.3. Person present at the meeting may not provide an oral report or oral commentary about a meeting as it takes place without permission. That's that bit. I need a drink. I've done policy. I'm doing this backwards, obviously, but I've done policy of absence because I thought it was appropriate to do it first for obvious reasons. People may be wondering why I am here as chair and others. Declarations of interest. Carol.
None that I'm aware of.
Martin.
None that I'm aware of.
David.
None that I'm aware of.
Bob.
None I'm aware of.
And none that I'm aware of. Thank you all. Just one update regarding the play parks. As we're aware of from the last meeting, we've had to order 2 new gates for Heavensville Park and also the Lake Grounds Park. They have been ordered. They should be delivered, hopefully, on or around the 13th of October. So once they are here, we will then get them in kind of fairly quickly as we can. Otherwise, there are no other further updates to the parks at the moment. There will be in future months as we look to kind of do a bit more work, particularly to Heavensfield, now that land sale's been completed, etc. Members of the public, we've got one online being Gary, and we've got 2 in the room. Would any of you like to talk or raise any questions? Paul?
I would, but I'm happy for somebody else to go first if they want to.
Gary, would you like to talk anything, or Emma?
No, I've got nothing to say now.
Cool. Thank you both. Paul.
Firstly, Ben, I came down to the meeting yesterday, but the door was firmly locked. There was no getting in.
Right.
I spent 10 minutes still outside along with somebody else, but you know, so be it.
What time was that? Actually, I don't know.
I was slightly late. I grant that I wasn't here for the start. Probably about 20 to 7.
Why didn't he let you in?
The gates were, the doors were shut.
There was a couple of late arrivals, weren't there? It's about 7:15. 10 people.
Yeah, I think some, that's because they were banging on the door.
Oh, right, okay.
They must be more persistent than I was. Second point,
Just on
Ben,
that one, Paul, just very quickly, we are looking to organise another one. So watch this space on that one. So yeah.
Second point, Ben, I came down tonight and I was still outside again because I couldn't get in. What I don't expect is for councillors to start harassing me outside this meeting and repeating lies that I am a member of a political party.
So the community.
If anybody
political
wants-
group.
Excuse me, I'm speaking.
That's okay.
If anybody wants to make that public allegation now that I am a member of a political party, please do so. If not, keep it to yourself.
I'll reply to that. Let me clearly state that the video is on the town council list of videos from town council meetings, and you clearly stated at the time, after harassing me, okay, that you are that, and I said to you that you are a member of a political group, not party. I also informed you today that your fellow friend and person that you have been recording some 2,500 videos over a period of 12 years, approached members of a new establishment in Portishead and asked them to join such political group. And that's why I stated that today, because you denied that on the previous meeting. And as said, it was recorded.
You said again tonight, I was a member of a political party.
I said you're a
Anyway,
political
forget
group.
that. But what I don't do is to take credit or discredit for what anybody else says. If I was down the Royal Hotel and I was trying to get people to join a political party, I would openly say it. I wasn't there. I wasn't invited. I understand that you were there and that there were various complaints made about you. But let's get it quite straight.
You're welcome
I
to
am
mention
not-
it. Okay.
I am not a member of a political party, and actually I take quite good pride in that I am not a member of a political party. I will hold any councillor or any party to account if I feel it's appropriate to do so. What I won't do is to be accused of being a member of a political party. If you want to keep repeating it, keep repeating it.
All right. Let me remind you.
Paul, we're gonna
No,
move
I
on.
can reply.
No,
I have entitled to
Paul,
reply.
1 second, I'm the chair of the meeting. I'm stopping the conversation.
Okay.
Paul's raised a point.
And
You've
I
answered.
defended that point.
We move on. There's people just need to be kind to each other, and if
I quite agree.
you're going to raise something, then make sure there's the evidence there. I don't know. I'm not on social. To be clear, I'm not on social media. I don't see any of this. So
Nothing
Yeah.
of mine then is
Yeah.
ever on social
I
media.
don't see any of it.
I don't put anything on social
Yeah.
media. In fact, I rarely go on social media myself. But what I'm being referring to is being accused of being a member of a political party. The allegation was made at the last council meeting, bar one, and it's been made again tonight outside here. It's incorrect, it's wrong.
I'm more than happy to provide you with evidence that your name is stated on some several thousand videos as courtesy of Paul Maltby, which implies that you have provided those video evidence, those video information to an alternative person to produce anti-political and anti-council comments.
Rob, we're going to move on because this is not about the meeting. Paul's raised a point. You've answered it. We're going to move on because it's
If ever you move out of Portishead, Bob, I'll tell you what, Portishead will have lost their village idiot, won't they?
Thank you very much.
Right, I'll move on to what I was going to say, Ben.
Yeah.
I'll try and be as polite as I can. The proposal that this council spends a vast amount of money on having an article in the North Somerset Times. I would ask the councillors here tonight to reject that proposal. That's public money. Anything that's in the North Somerset Times will be done just to try and pacify councillors. If councillors want to make themselves forward, if they want to make themselves known, then I suggest that they go out and do so. What they shouldn't be doing is spending our money, our public money, on doing that. North Somerset Times, an advert in there will be seen by a very, very small fraction of people in Portishead. Nobody reads that, it's just a rag. to be honest. It's not even delivered. It's delivered to Clevedon, well, it's not delivered, but it's provided to Hill, to Clevedon, to Nelsey. For goodness sake, this council spends enough money. Please don't start spending our money on adverts in a paper which will just be for political gain.
Cool, thank you. Anything else or? No, thank you. Anybody else want to talk? No? Cool.
Yeah, I was just going to say, in support of Paul on this one, I do actually quite agree. North Somerset Times, as Paul mentioned, is not very well distributed paper. Even the areas of the high street and the supermarkets, if you go into any of them, there's very few that are actually moved. Point of advertising, I think we discussed this yesterday with North Somerset Town and North Somerset Council and the way that they communicate with the public. I think the whole point of media and how we communicate now with the public has completely changed, and newspapers that are failing in the town is not the way to go.
The other point I will make then is if North Somerset Times had any interest whatsoever in what this council does, they'd send a reporter, you get a bit of free advertising. They haven't bothered to send a reporter to this meeting or any council meeting in Portishead for 3, maybe 4
I
years.
don't think there's been anyone here, I might stand to be corrected, but since COVID. I think the last person was here was before COVID, so we're now in year 4.
3 or 4 years,
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
you know, they had the slightest bit of interest what was going on in Portishead, they send a reporter.
No, I think fair point. We'll come to it properly in a minute, but yeah, David's
Yeah,
got a point.
my only observation, I completely hear what you guys are saying. My concern is just about communicating to our non-computer literate population. I think so whether the North Somerset Times is right or wrong, I think there is a really important issue about how we get messages out to people that are
I
not on
agree with
social
that.
media.
Yeah.
I agree, but I'll come on to it in a minute of why I think we can do it better. Because I kind of have read this one and like, anyway, shivers. Item 6, nobody else wanted to talk, just check. No. Item 6 is minutes of the last meeting. Obviously, I can't say I wasn't here, I was on holiday. So, who was, David was here.
Carol, you were here last time, weren't you?
Yes, I was.
Yes.
Yeah, Carol was here, and that was it. Well, Emma was here, but obviously Emma can't vote on it because she's on it. Obviously, wasn't allowed to. Sorry, Emma. So is that enough?
Propose and second, and the rest of you can agree them. Yeah, that's absolutely fine.
Okay. So is somebody happy to propose that the meetings the last minute dated the 24th of August 2023 were present and correct?
Yes, I am.
David?
Sorry, Ben, was the 2 people who were here
Yeah.
at the meeting?
Yeah, David and Carol. Yeah. Carol, you happy?
Second.
Thank you.
I'm going to abstain because I wasn't here, I was nowhere near, so I don't want to vote on something, so I don't think it's right. If you're in favour, please raise your hand of approving the minutes as proposed and seconded by David and Carol. If you're abstaining, then please raise your hand, which I am, because I wasn't here. I think it's the right thing to do. Thank you. North Somerset Times news article. Obviously, consider whether the Town Council should include a news article in North Somerset Times report is attached. Obviously, I've read the report, and obviously Paul's raised it, and Bob's made a comment, and David's made a comment. A couple of points in it. One, as I've said and Paul said, they've not been here since COVID. Like I think the last time they were here, and maybe again tend to be corrected, but it was previous council before the 2019 elections. I can't remember when they were actually here. Genuinely, there used to be a table in the room where you used to get a North Somerset Times reporter would sit there with another representative. Well, I genuinely cannot remember the last time a North Somerset representative was in that room. I really can't. I can't remember the last time I spoke personally to a North Somerset Times representative. and they used to be quite interested in the skate park and then disappeared from the planet Earth. We tried to get hold of them to help us with publicity and we got no response. My mind, we've got a communications officer, which we pay for. The North Somerset Times goes in a couple of units. It goes in the Poacher pub, for example. Whenever I go in week after week, there's always the same pile there. It doesn't seem to go down. And if you see one there, it's just screwed up on the table somewhere that someone's used probably to mop up something they've accidentally spilled. I genuinely believe this is a waste of money. I'll be blunt about my feelings. And I think we should work better and work with Amy to find a better strategy to communicate with residents, because this is my opinion, I'm speaking for me, I believe we rely too much on social media and internet. Not everybody is internet and social media savvy, they don't have it, maybe not even access to the internet or social media. If we're going to do something, then why don't we do some flyers that are scattered around the town and go and put them in the halls and stuff like that, and do it that way and get people's input and do it in a constructive way to promote the things that the town council does as a whole, and also to, help to show what North Somerset does in the town. And then any questions or concerns that residents have, they can come to us. If they don't know the details, they've then got them on the forms. I think it's to be a far more economical and productive and a far more beneficial way to help the residents keep communicating. That's my opinion. Bob's first, then David, then Mark.
Yeah, I quite agree, Ben. Obviously, there are other avenues that we can use. We have obviously the hub, which is the perfect place that we could actually use some sort of advertising or advertising board. We've also got obviously our own advertising boards across the town, but very few. And I think I raised the point that we have 20 bus stops that we could actually, that we own, that we could actually use as a point of advertising. It's just a case of seeing if we can get a volunteer team to put those into place. And I'm more than happy to try and sort that out and try and get some sort of low cost to actually put the boards on the windows, because you're talking a massive square area that you could use. Like say the one outside the Poacher, you're talking probably 10 foot wide of actual advertising space that will still not disrupt obviously the times table board. It's just an option that you could use.
But it's easy. I mean, we pay somebody to do that role.
Yeah.
And we can help her to then help us and do it that way. I can't even went too far. I'll go to Mike first.
Oh, well, thank you. Okay, I fully support what Bob just said. Yes, I mean, I think this is a very good opportunity to use public space, particularly on the town-owned bus shelters. And I would imagine that, a quarterly newsletter brought out could go into the notice boards. I think if you're going to go down the North Somerset Times route, then maybe just once a year, following the town meeting, to report on sort of the annual events that might have occurred and things that have happened. But I also agree that it's a bit of a waste of time, and I very infrequently read a copy because I forget to pick them up.
Yeah, I've just stopped even online.
Yeah. But I appreciate that if Nailsy and Cleveland are doing it on a regular basis, then all well and good for them. But yes, it's a lot of public money.
Yeah.
If it's done on, say, I don't know how often they do it.
I mean, this is an idea for a one-off article, but there's options to go for more. But I just don't see the cost to cost benefit to the residents. I can't in my head. I can't work it out at all.
And keep the website up to date. As well.
Yeah. David.
I mean, just to say what I said before, I think communication is absolutely key. Yeah, I think it's really important that we get the messages out to people beyond those who will go to our website. I agree. Challenge of North Somerset Times is not delivered through people's doors. I mean, in the old days when it just fell on your doormat, people would open it, it would be there. But I think because you can't do that now, it relies on you taking a trip to the Poacher, to the swimming pool. I know quite a lot of outlets, but for folk who don't get out of their house much, that's not going to be high on the priority list.
That's how we find that, isn't it?
So I think we need to find a cost-effective approach for reaching the people who currently we don't reach through the kind of more modern technology.
Yeah.
I mean, it may be that a once-a-year article is cost-effective compared to those other options that we've talked about, but I think some way of getting out there is really important.
It's the same thing. I mean, you've got. I know we obviously as we say the poacher and other places where we see it, but obviously you've got you've got the hub you could use, you've got the youth centre you could use, you've got the hall, all three halls you can put them in. The others you've got the St Joseph at the top, which is North Somerset, but I'm sure they wouldn't have an objection to us putting in there because it's the outreach centres that people go to. Whether it's the young mothers, it's other the older
I
folk that
expect
say
a lot of the local churches would help
Well,
with that
exactly.
too, because
It's
that's
just-
where
everyone goes
people
to.
tend to go.
Yeah, so I think we have the options to reach out. I think the key here is ultimately is finding out how do we reach that proportion of people that aren't being reached at the moment.
Yeah.
How do we solve that problem, and then we can put in place then about how we deal with getting the message out there about what the town council we're doing. We want your ideas and what we're doing good, not so good, or terrible as an example. So let's explore the options. I think we need to find a solution. Martin and Carol, any other comments?
I was just going to ask. Oh, sorry.
Well, that seems like a really sensible idea. Were we suggesting that we we pull this out and give them a feedback form at the same time, so as we go?
You put it door back, couldn't you? So effectively, the front of the form is telling people about what the town council does and what we've been doing, etc. The back bit is in a feedback form potentially.
Yeah.
That okay, I really appreciate this. I actually didn't know this. Thank you very much. Or actually, what about this? Or you've done this and it's a terrible job. Or you've done this and it's a fantastic. Again, feedback as long as it's constructive, good, bad, or ugly. I don't mind as long as it's constructive and positive.
That's right.
That's all I ask for people. Don't if you're going to come to criticise something, fine. Then give a spin and say, right, I don't think this is working very well. However, if you thought about doing it this way, I'll take that on board all day long because I just think it's the way to go. So yeah.
Is there any evidence anywhere that you get the right sort of feedback from this sort of thing?
I don't know. I think the problem we're having is, isn't it? And a lot of this is, yes, there's the cutbacks at sometimes, etc. We're all aware of that. But I think a lot of this is people's behaviours post-COVID kind of went one way, went another way, and they're now kind of seem to be adapting again. There's a different kind of shift of where people are
That's
going.
true, yeah.
And I can't, particularly in the industry I work at, we can't kind of work it out where it's going at the moment because there's things happening in the world at the moment that I work in. So, well, okay, it's never happened for 14 years. What's actually happening? And it's like you're trying to work with it all the time, and it does feel sometimes like 1 second, Bob, sorry.
Okay.
It does feel like people are just finding their feet again a little bit because of what happened, and it's like, I know some people that still won't go to an arena, for example, to watch a concert because of COVID. Well, I said, well, fine, but you can't keep living your life like that. And I think there's people like that are out there, they're still scared. There's not a problem with that, and they're just trying to find their feet. So
There are
But I
mental health implications in that there was a thing that I witnessed called COVID psychosis, which was actually to do with people having been isolated through COVID, the fear messages, etc. And now what you've got is a lot of post-COVID anxiety.
yeah,
So health anxiety has become a big issue, and people are not coming out. They're still and we also have a problem in that we're getting lots of mental health messages out, which is very good, but it's a double-edged sword because the minute people start identifying with mental health messages, they start to see themselves as vulnerable and potential victims.
Okay.
And it can be as unhelpful as it is helpful. So from that perspective, people are getting far more cautious, far more frightened about the world. And if you watch the news each day, it's difficult not to be.
right.
So people's behaviour as a group is going to get far less predictable.
Yeah, it's not going to get any better before it gets, it did. It got people. I mean, I was a case in point during COVID. I actually was holed up in a hotel 5 nights a week for the best part of 6 months because I chose to keep on working. As I just said to my work, please do not furlough me. Just whatever you do, don't. But I didn't expect to then go and spend half my time in London. But that's what it was, to keep the roof over my family's head, fine. But I kind of relate to your point. So I got to the end of it and I felt literally like some kind of cabin fever. Let me out of here. And it's every now and again I kind of just regret thinking, it's a strange one. But
I was in the NHS bunker waiting for people to die in their droves,
Well, yeah.
which is what we were told was going to happen.
Yeah.
So,
I was just going to ask the clerk. Obviously, has the media and comms, I don't know, manager or whatever the person is, will they have the time, obviously, to process this and get this out? if it's a case that we obviously manage to get permission from the hub or the youth centre or something like that.
I think it'll have to be factored into her work schedule. But I think she'd certainly be willing to consider different options because that's what she's looking for. This is partly why she's sort of tabled this report, because she's trying to find other ways of getting the message out about the council and trying other avenues. So I think as long as we schedule it in and you know, work out how it can be done, yes, I don't see that there's a problem. Yeah.
Emma?
I think in agreement with what we were all saying, really, it's necessary to look at all of the different avenues and not just rely on certain ones. I think looking at the overall price and the ongoing price, it probably does look like something that we need to do for a special instance, such like after the annual meeting or something like that. But it's the other avenues that we really need to explore, like the bus shelters, like the notice boards, and you know, given my experience when we were trying to get the message out during COVID to those that weren't on social media, it was time and effort, which is what we needed to put in with you know, either leafleting or getting in touch with those social networks that those people are reliant on through other means. So it's all of those things that we probably need to put back on the table and establish what it is that we need to, you know, prioritise really, I guess, and then support Amy to actually go through and you know, so we've got a standardised approach, and then people get used to that approach as well, and they know where they're looking for that information.
Is it, I mean, in my head, what's screaming out here is one councillor volunteers, and we get with Amy and we sort out a new common strategy about what's going to go forward, and it gets put back at the end of the October CM meeting or full council in November if it needs to, for discussion and get it out there, because this is not going to benefit anybody, but we need to find something, you know, people are seeing things, but I think as the many messages have been shared with me today, people didn't see that meeting last night. Well, why not?
That was the feedback we got.
So, and all I've been told is it's been spread all over social media everywhere and websites. But so the question is, I think it's a two-pronged attack, isn't it? Why aren't people seeing it on social media, but they're complaining that they didn't see it and raising valid points why they didn't see it? So we need to find that answer to that question.
I think the point last night was that the point that they posted it on social media, but as a typical social media, a point of interest only lasts 5 seconds before it moves down the line, and then it becomes buried.
And the challenge of doing something twice a year by paper, just going to the paper approaches, is that you won't know the dates for these meetings. The date for this meeting was only announced 4 to 6 weeks ago. I kind of need to see a little grid, if Amy's got the time, of the kind of pros and cons of the different approaches, because we do need to. We can't, as Ben said, debate it forever. We need to make a decision.
No, we need to just bottom it out. I mean, one last thing on it. Yeah.
Do we need a town crier?
Could
we have?
Right.
Well, would it be useful to actually draw up a draft blueprint for one, which would then get discussed at the October meeting?
Well, that's my point.
Maybe to actually do one and sort of
come with a common strategy. Do we have a volunteer, councillor-wise, in this room that's going to sit with Amy?
I'll sit. I'm more than happy to sit with Amy and Brett. And if you want to choose the better, to be honest.
Well, I am, because I'm involved with Amy at the moment with the Muir Trail stuff.
We're going to have a couple then.
Yes,
So we have a
I don't want to fight over it.
We'll be so Bob and Mark, the pros will be then that Bob and Martin sit with Amy to come up with a communication strategy to be then brought back to Community Matters in the October meeting.
So would it be nice to have some sort of presentation of a design that we could come forward with?
I'll leave you guys to come up with that. I mean, Amy's ultimately, she's the expert in this, is what she does. So we need to lead to the expert, and then she will lead us on what the best mediums to get at by. We just need whatever we need to do. Residents need to understand when things are happening, what's happening, where it's happening, etc. What things we're doing, what things we could help them with, and any feedback they got. You know, this is not about telling them what we're doing or what we're going to do. This is about listening to the residents and getting their feedback. This is what this is about, in my
I just
mind.
fancy a big red coat, tricorn hat and a bell. I can do that.
Walk behind you. So, you know, we've got to listen to people, and if we don't listen to people and get their feedback, then actually,
Oh, absolutely.
I know we're laughing, but people do listen.
Oh yeah. We'll go with that one out. So, did you get that?
Yep.
I'm calling you Emily then. I'm so sorry. I don't know why I'm going to call you Emily. I don't even know an Emily, do I? I don't know why I really don't. I need sleep. Wendy, so you got all that, yeah?
Yes,
So,
thank you.
I'm happy to propose my motion. Is somebody happy to second the motion? Carol. All those in favour?
Thank you.
Cool, thank you. I think it's a constructive way forward, so let's see what the end of October brings. And get it out there. Item 8 is the cost of living fund reports. We've also got 3 reports, one from Wellspring, one from Citizens Advice, and one from obviously the Youth Centre Family Breakfast Club. Does anybody have any questions? Have you all read it? I've sat and read through it all again this afternoon. David first. I think I saw your hand in my eyes.
It's great to see some feedback on how the money's been spent. Absolutely fantastic. I just had a comment about the cost of living fund for counselling.
The Wellspring one.
And probably some blasters, but if you look at the breakdown of where the money's been spent, the admin costs are 3 times higher than the amount spent on the counsellors themselves. So I'm thinking the answer to that must be that the counsellors are doing it for free or at a very cheap rate. But it does seem strange that the admin costs would be so high in relation to the counselling costs. So I wonder if that's a question we could just ask them. If you work it out, they're doing 8 hours face-to-face counselling a week. So that's what's that? About 32 hours a month at £201. That works out at. And that isn't terribly good. There's less than £10 an hour. So I'm sure it's just they've got some very kind people giving time. But otherwise, I don't know if I would agree. It looks a bit odd.
Yeah, I kind of saw that. I think if we go, I know it's not obviously not on here, but if we go back to a meeting that we had as the Grants Working Group for the Cost of Living Fund about 2 months ago, I raised exactly the same query. I'm not going to say who the grant's for because it's not fair, but it's one of these 3. I'll leave it at that. But their staffing costs compared to what they're asking for made my stomach turn, because I'm thinking, well, hold on a minute, you're trying to help people, and that should be, you know, absolute massive credit for you for doing that. But how can your admin costs, whatever you want to call it, outweigh your actual helping people cost? And I know we're awaiting an answer for the next batch to be released, and it won't be released until that answer comes forth, because when he was in the meeting, I think I was just hopping mad. Literally, we're spending the town's money, people's money of this town, to help people. No issue with that at all. Just to be quite clear, if people need help, whether it's a new pair of shoes or a fridge or some food on the table or something like that, I happily help them. Got no issue at all. But what really gets my goat is, and it's, as you touched on, is when the admin fees or staff costs way outweigh the work they're actually doing. You can't keep coming to people to ask for money. You've got to look at the bigger picture here. And if it means something gets chopped somewhere, then you've got to do it for the benefit of the people, because that's what we're doing this for.
Very often it's because you have a demand from the people paying the bill for stats to back up what's being done and to account for it. And as a mental health professional in the prison, I can tell you that for every minute I spend with a prisoner doing face-to-face work, I probably spend 3 or 4 doing the admin around it, because they want to know that all their key targets that they're paying for are being provided. And because we're such a statistic-hungry society now, we have to bow to the gods of data in all things. That's why the admin costs tend to outweigh the costs of people actually doing the face-to-face work.
Yeah, I mean, I get it to a point, it's, you know, and I understand that. You
How life is.
You can't help people, but at the same time, if you're going to help people, you can't have some of the costs that you see, and not just this, but in general, that you say, well, okay, so you're asking for £30,000, but 21 of that's
Well,
going to be an admin cost for.
The days when you could get a small group of professional people who all knew their job, who could decide between them how to deliver care, what that care was going to look like, and what it would do, and then just get on and do it, are long gone. And there is actually a person who provides care in that way in Scandinavia, and he undercuts everybody else by paying the people who are delivering the care better, taking out all the administrative and management bump, and just letting the people provide the care. He does a better job, it's a safer job, and it's a cheaper job. But that requires a degree of trust to the professionals that just doesn't exist nowadays in our
I think
society.
you touched on a very good point there, the trust, isn't it? Because ultimately, there's things are happening in the world, unfortunately, that you wouldn't expect to happen any day, let alone when it happens. But you've got to put the trust back into people that they're going to do their job properly, and then empower them to do their job. Yes, monitor them, but don't literally then download and bog them down in, okay, so you can go and see a patient, you've got 1 hour with them, but you need 4 hours to write the report on all the stats on it. And this is where the government's got it wrong, because they're giving all this money away, our money, bearing in mind.
Absolutely.
Because they think they're doing a wonderful job, and we're going to go and help all these people, with our money, and then they expect you then to go and find a report. I mean, I've got several friends and family that work in the NHS and police as well, and their bugbear is, well, we want to help a patient, we want to help someone that we've just arrested, but that arrest is going to cost us another 3 hours worth of paperwork. Crack on and keep. It's like you've got to get the bureaucracy sat behind the scenes.
Until people are prepared to look at professionals and trust them to know their job and to do it. Unfortunately, that's what we're stuck with. It's data.
Yes, monitor people. Yes, check it's being done properly, and it's all safe, etc. But don't bog them down in 2 or 3 hours worth of. I'll say anything's garbage at times, because actually, who's going to go and read the 101 reports that you wrote? Genuinely, nobody. They'll get filed in a corner. We all know it. So that's my only comment on it. I think they're doing a wonderful job. I think the reports are very enlightening, worrying at times as well. But this is why we're here helping Citizens Advice and the Youth Centre and the Wellspring, because we knew people would need help, and it's only getting worse. So unfortunately, we continue to help people, and that's what we will do as a council. We will help people. So we will also ask I will particularly ask you all know it. I will ask the pointed questions when they need to be asked to make sure that the residents are benefiting. So that's what we're doing this for. We're spending their
But the
money.
more basic the feedback we ask for, and for the standards we ask for, the more basic they are and the easier they are to defend and to demonstrate, then the more the money is going to go directly where we want it to go as a council.
So then we can if we can get it right, then we can hope to educate others that are doing it around us, and actually then lo and behold, the admin costs and so on come down, don't they? So,
dramatically.
Anybody else anything to say on that one? No. Also, the recommendation is obviously then to note the use of the cost of living funding by Wellspring, Citizen Advice, and also Somerset, and the Family Breakfast Club. Do we have to vote on this one? Or was it just
No, just to note it.
Item 9, obviously bank facilities in Portishead. There aren't any really. As you all would have seen, obviously we got wind very early last week that Lloyd's put Portishead on their list to close next September. It then came out, again got shared it on social media. I think it was it Wednesday afternoon? I think it came out on social media that I was just shutting it. So we've gone from having NatWest, HSBC, Lloyd's, and Barclays in the high street, Barclays and the Co-op, which was long before me. Barclays went first since I've been in town. Then HSBC went this year. Lloyd's are going next year. We are left with NatWest.
NatWest announcement could be 2025. I've got some inside information. So.
I mean, if it is, I get that if you look at, so there is a certain online paper that's done an article that I've seen this afternoon that gives you some of the figures that people have used the facility at Lloyd's, and the numbers aren't great, But in my head here, this is not about the numbers. This goes back to what we were discussing a minute ago about communication, helping people.
Absolutely.
These banks, for some people, are an outlet to go and just talk to somebody and have a cup of coffee and a cup of tea or whatever they want to have. They're really important meeting places. And if we were to lose, I don't know whether we lose the last bank or not. I hope we don't. But if we were to, how can a town of 27,000+ people
No
have
post
not-
office.
with no post office, and this
That's my next
bit
question.
says the post office is trying to work with people, but there's been no interest. Well, that's a lie,
That's rubbish.
because there is interest. However, the post office price themselves out the market, and the buildings in Portstead that are available are priced themselves out the market. So actually, that article was a load of rubbish.
Yes,
Anyway,
indeed.
we'll leave that there. But fortunately, the point of this is the fact that we're losing another bank next year. We're down to one, and we've got to do something. And the unfortunate thing is, we can't do anything until the last one goes. The minute the last one goes, you can then do something, and you have to then get like what's the word?
Banking hub.
It's a bank. Yeah, there is another word behind. There's another word they use. The banking organisations use it, but effectively, you get the banking hub. In fact, you have a building, and they all come into it at different parts of the week. So and that's how it can go. But the system being backwards as it is and completely rigged in their favour, I would suggest, is the minute the last one leaves, that's when you can only enact a solution.
Well, we've got problems. Sorry, we've got problems anyway. In that, if you go into a bank, most of the business you want to do, they will not do in the bank. They want you to go online to do it.
Yeah.
So you can no longer sit in a private room, have a conversation with somebody who can do it for you. They'll try and direct you to an online service. You go in now and there's one person sitting behind the thing. Everything else you have to do through a machine. We're all being trained to do everything for ourselves.
Robots.
Everywhere, everywhere, at the expense of other people's jobs. So even though I bank with the remaining bank in here, I cannot get the services that I want from that branch at branch level.
I mean, I'm old-fashioned, and
I'm a
I'd
cash.
rather see it. Yeah, I'd rather go to a bank teller than obviously in NatWest they now have that machine. You can chuck your money, and I still don't trust it, and I still would rather go to a bank teller.
And I don't have access to my savings accounts online because it's not safe. My wife's been conned into giving all our money away once already, and I don't intend to give her that chance again.
Point, obviously,
And it is just.
Cybercrime is massive. I think when we spoke to the police chief commissioner, last year, wasn't it? He mentioned about cybercrime and how much it was rising, and obviously.
But we're being forced into a cashless economy where cybercrime is easy.
Yeah.
And then they're
Exactly.
complaining that old people are vulnerable, but they won't give them a bank.
Well, I think it's the point. This is the bit of the article that's kind of it's nail on the head. I think it was 55. The main batch of people using in the bank was 55 to, I can't think what the upper age was, but it proves the point that we're all saying, that this category of people, bunch of people, whatever you want to call them,
Us old
they
people.
are human beings, and they want to interact with people, and they don't want to use. I mean, I use it. I don't know the last time I went into a bank. This is my Bible, but I did. The day I went to Carfest on the 24th of August, well, actually on the 23rd of August, I fell asleep on my couch. I packed all the car up, fell asleep on my couch, woke up about 20 past 10 at night, got 5 notifications from my bank saying that I paid £5, £3, £250, £199 to Sky Bet for bets. I was fast asleep on the couch. The bank sent me a notification: is issued, we've stopped them all. I hopped on, said, no, it's not me, do not pass them all. Thinking I've solved the problem, so they've all got declined on my bank. Woke up the next morning at 6 o'clock, that sanctioned 2 of them. So most of my money for Carfest weekend had disappeared. I phoned on the bank and literally went berserk. Said, well, hold on a minute. I declined all these last night. It isn't me. You said it wasn't me. You've noticed I've never paid a single bet to Sky Bet with you. And I didn't sanction these, yet you're going to sanction them. I'm going on holiday in 1 hour. What are you going to do about it? So, well, nothing to do about it, sir. We have to hope now that Sky Bet don't take this money.
It's ironic.
Right, okay. I run it, to be fair, to the bank. I'm not going to name them, but to be fair to the bank, by 10 o'clock the next morning, that money was back in my account, every single penny. So actually, it was a good result. But the point is,
They didn't have to.
they didn't have to, but cybercrime is right. The police know it's right, but they can't stop it.
No.
One, because they haven't got enough manpower, the expertise, etc. is coming at it from all angles. Don't very often stick up with the police, but on this occasion they're being overwhelmed on this one. But ultimately, you're taking the bank away and you're not helping people. I mean, we are going to be, if we go down what some people in this world want to go down, the AI world, we may as well go and sit in a house now and never come out again, because you'll have robots walking down the streets, which is ridiculous.
And it's that personal touch. I mean,
Yeah.
it's even
Good
like
talk.
walking. Yeah, it's like walking into a supermarket and it's like, sod it, I'm still going to the checkout, so I'm not going on that scanning thing. And most of us do it because we want to support the people that are employed behind there, and we want to talk to them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But also, there's all the blurb that Portishead has got an ageing population. Portishead has got a lot of elderly residents.
Very good point.
Well, why don't we cater to those elderly residents?
Exactly. You're marginalising people again. You're putting lines in that don't need to be put in, and putting divides in that don't need to be put in. You know, when you look at it, and I've had many conversations with people, they call me the newbie because obviously I live in the new part of Portishead. I live on the Vale, and it's like, etc. But it's fine. You all live in the same town, but it seems to be that the banks are helping this divide come into towns because they're drawing the thin red line, which is just getting thicker and thicker and thicker. And I mean, ultimately, Wendy and Paul Churchill and I have spoken about this last week. The recommendation is to approve a statement on behalf of the town council to authorise the clerk to send a communication, because we have to be very clear on this. We are unhappy, to say the least.
Absolutely.
It is not acceptable in any way, shape or form that they're putting profit before people again.
Again, as always.
As always. And I got told, and I don't know whether this figure's correct, so I stand to be corrected, but I got told by my financial advisor that obviously the mortgage crisis we're all currently going through, if you got a mortgage, that the rates have gone up. One, we all know they don't need to, it's profiteering. But the 6 banks in this country made in the first 6 months of the year clear £29 billion profit. Yet people, as you've read in some of these reports tonight from Wellspring, View Centre and Citizen Advice, can't afford to buy a fridge, can't afford to buy food. There's a report today from a lady that couldn't buy food, she ran out of money at the checkout. I was in Iceland a couple of weeks ago. There was a lady in there on Sunday morning it was, and she got to the counter and she didn't have enough money. I got sat there, you got a hot sink, so I paid for her shopping because I wasn't going to let her go home without any shopping.
I've done it.
And I'm not saying it to get it on here, it's not about that. It's about the fact that people are struggling. These big banking organisations, and not just the banks, they're profiteering, making huge amounts of money, and putting profit before people, and people matter, and people should be thought about and cared about. It's about time. We can't do anything about it. We can say something as a council, we can fight for it as hammer and tooth, but until this government gets the kahunas, or this government, or the next government, or whatever, gets the kahunas, and actually says to these people, stop, this stops right here, right now.
It's about time we talked about maximum wage as well as minimum wage, isn't it? Because that's where the problem lies.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
we need to do something. So I'm proposing that we authorise the town clerk to get the communication out. Is somebody happy to second the motion?
Yeah.
David, those in favour?
Yes.
Thank you. It's disgusting, it generally makes you blood boil, and you wonder why you get angry with them.
Did we get any further with post offices? Are we still in the same?
We're still in the same.
So
The problem
same
got
boat,
is
there isn't any
There were a couple of
property
questions
from.
yesterday at the meeting of the council, and there are people on North Somerset Council who are on the case. Apparently, one of the challenges is, I think, the distance between the parties in power in North Somerset Council and our local MP. So I think that throws up challenges in terms of getting things done. But it's the same challenge that Ben highlighted earlier on.
Sure,
It's about
absolutely.
the affordability of getting the
profiteering landlords in the high streets.
Absolutely.
I mean, there is, to answer your question, there is somebody who wants to take it on. He's genuinely interested. He runs a post office already. He wants to take it on, but he cannot afford to take it on the current terms that one, the post office are offering, to our understanding, and two, the ground rent. It's not just what he had to pay to be part of the post office. It's not just about hiring a building. It's his building insurance, it's his employee insurance,
Oh, sure.
his employee national insurance, his employee tax, the employee salaries. Before you know it, I mean, this is a genuine guess figure, but I'd hazard a guess to start off decently in any of these buildings, whatever going, you probably need to clear £300,000 a year to even get anywhere. And then, well, who in the right mind is going to take it on? If the post office is serious about this, then they need to look at it, because
sure.
so you have to go to Pill at the moment, and it's like I paid for something this week to be posted. Cost me £6.35, I think it was. The actual postage cost, genuine cost, was less than that. It's, you know, it's on my thing. Meant to be delivered next day. It'll arrive at some point. It'll get here when it arrives here. I had a package delivered yesterday that's recorded, signed for delivery. I was out, unfortunately, I was at work. They wrote on the thing, be delivered this morning. I was just popping out happening about 10 to 2 to go to my son's school, and the postman hopped round in the van. I just stopped him. Have you got a package for number 9? You told me you're going to deliver it today. Oh no, not got it in the van, mate.
Oh, okay.
I says, so I could have gone to your thing and fetched it myself this morning, then, couldn't I?
Yeah.
Not his fault, but it's like, it's only going to fetch it in the morning now. It's absolutely ludicrous, yet it makes my blood boil. It's not helping people at all. They don't help themselves.
Sure.
They really don't. Anyway.
Is there anything we're doing wrong in Portishead and Cleveland's doing right? Because Cleveland's keeping their Lloyds Bank, I think. Cleveland's got 2 post offices. So I just wonder if something in is it something particular about Portishead that is leading to these businesses shutting down here?
I think the issue was McCall's went, didn't it? So McCall's went to the post office. That was ultimately the issue. McCall's went, the post office went. Because that building goes with it.
That's how McCall's built up its brand, through its purchasing of sub post offices. I mean, I work for McCall's myself, so obviously I'm well aware of how it was
I
run.
didn't know that.
Yeah.
So there you go, it has to go.
Emma, can I ask Emma?
I think it's the...
Ask Emma.
Emma said she was going to chat to supermarkets and stuff about post offices. Did we ever get round to that?
It was the Sainsbury's head office that we were trying to get in touch with to understand how they operate their post offices in the locations that they've got them in, because they've got them in many, including a number in Wiltshire as well, but we haven't had anything back. So, but we can persist and maybe actually contact the Sainsbury's sites that have the post offices in. Directly contact those Sainsbury's supermarket managers and find out whether there's anything that we can understand, you know, the pros and cons, and loop in then maybe the regional management of the Sainsbury's to find out whether we can actually do anything with our own. Maybe not just Sainsbury's, but maybe other supermarkets as well. But yeah, in essence, just seeing what models work in other towns. And then find out whether there's any appetite to be able to actually kind of, you know, progress with the real estate that we've got here.
Okay.
That doesn't need to be rented for the sole purpose, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Thank you, Em.
Thank you. I think ultimately it's about getting someone to be sensible, isn't it? Either put it in an already built open building, i.e. a Waitrose, a Sainsbury's, or a little whatever, or if then it's going to be rent a building, then obviously there's got to be a sensible conversation about the amount of money they're charging.
Well, I suppose if the post office are paying such poor amounts of money, I don't suppose the supermarkets want to lose that amount of space. I don't know.
The question is, how much space do they need, though? It's a counter for, say, for 2 or 3 desks. We're not talking about a massive amount of space here, are we?
I wouldn't think so. No.
If they put Argos, I'm using Sainsbury's as an example. You've obviously got Argos has gone into Sainsbury's in place of the cafe. You know, would Sainsbury's, I don't know, would Sainsbury's not should I think we need to keep exploring things, keep pushing things, keep pushing the local people and keep, as in the powers that can make the decision.
I've had this a North Somerset Council officer who's been asked to do this. I asked Caritas this question, and he replied saying that North Somerset Council have dedicated some officer time.
Well, that was the full council meeting, which was the first we all knew about it. Because again, North Somerset can't communicate. But hashtag. So, you know, just saying.
I don't think sorry, I don't think it precludes us from carrying on with our own conversations
I think we have to.
and seeing, and seeing if there's any other alternatives or, you know, anything really we can go through and see. Leave no stone unturned, isn't it really?
Well, exactly. No, we've got to keep fighting because it's ultimately the residents need it, and it's.
Somebody suggested to me that there was actual legislation when the post office started being broken up that they had to keep a post office within X number of miles of a central population like this, and that none of the ones around us meet that criteria. So I'll
I'm sure that's true.
I'll look more into that.
I mean, the bizarre thing is, you've got the sorting office there.
Well,
I know,
hold on a
it
minute.
is.
isn't it?
Why can't you just put another counter in there? It's not
And-
rocket
and-
science, is it?
And that's public frustration, I think, is that sitting there every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's halfway. You can't get in there beyond 1 o'clock. Is it 1 o'clock?
It's
Something like that.
12:30 now, isn't
Well,
it?
Is it?
Whatever time.
It's
only
about 2
changed.
minutes before you actually show up to
Yeah.
try and get your parcel.
So
In my experience.
it's,
Aren't post office counters a different part?
Yes.
They are,
Post office
yeah,
are
but-
completely separate, aren't
I
they?
know, but it's the public perception, isn't it? They see that sign that says
Yeah,
post
yeah, sure.
office,
yeah.
you know.
Also, there's a building there. You could have quite easily, in my mind, put a little hub in there, even if it's a short-term thing for a year or so, while we've actually found a solution.
Mm.
If you're going to take something away from a town, okay, that's my point. If you're going to make a big critical, then give us a solution. The post office have said, oh, okay, unfortunately, McColl's went. Post office went with it. They've given us no solution whatsoever apart from right. Whoever wants it's got to pay this amount of money, and off you go. Well, we're going back to the same point, aren't we?
Yeah.
Profit before people.
Always.
So, yeah.
That's where you'll always end up.
Well,
It seems
the
to be,
world
doesn't
we're in,
it?
isn't it, at the moment,
Exactly.
unfortunately. It's a circle. The last item on the agenda, obviously, is the wellbeing coordinator's reports. Obviously, a lot of the stuff in the first part obviously is done and gone, but obviously the new chatty table is happening every Friday, 10 to 11:30 at the Horton Woodhouse. Obviously ongoing, because obviously regarding bus route changes, again, we did raise that at the last council meeting. I know we're going to keep pushing on that one because they put things in, take things out, and so on and so on. Yeah. And again, because it obviously goes via North Somerset, it's the communication, again, making sure it's coming out properly to us and on time. Isn't it? Lack of co-working facilities, obviously in Portishead, often comment upon. Well, yeah, again, it's about having the right building space, isn't it? We haven't got it. They built, you know, when all the developers came into this town in the mid-90s and started building, there was no foresight at all. It was, well, I'll say the word again, profit. Let's put profit for everything else, and actually let's not worry about the facilities in the town. And there should things. My opinion on it is when developers come in and build any more than 20 houses, there should be a stipulation written into the contract that you don't lay a single footing in the house until you put in a facility in this town that the town's lacking. That's what it should be. It should be written in
Everybody would
blood.
like that, wouldn't they?
So, because my hometown where I come from, there's developers have gone in and promised this, and 10 years later, guess what? They're still waiting for it. And I'm not the only one, but it's
Not happening.
my point is they're coming in, spent all the profit they've taken away from all these housing
Sure.
development across the Marine and the Liz
Nothing
Course of
back.
the Vale.
Sure.
We've not really benefited
Yeah.
really at all. So, they'll say you have, well, we give you this money from SIL or S106 it wasn't. Well, yeah, we have to fight you for £270,000 of it, you won't give it back. So,
Well, the problem is they get permission to build, and then there's all this this stuff in with the build. But they do the buildings first, and then they go, oh, sorry, it's just not economically viable to meet that.
Or they-
But they get away with
or they go
not
private.
meeting their commitments in the
Yeah.
same way as the water company isn't meeting its
Well, they hit the news of the
commitments
week,
and
don't they?
everything else.
yeah, the other news of the week was a press report because a number of developers hadn't built their parks on these new housing estates where they're inviting young families in. It's deliberately because it's bringing the money in to the towns and making the towns bigger, etc. But they were literally
Decided to go with it.
Easy Points West, I think it was on. And then in the end, the developers said, yeah, we're doing it. So,
I'm not quite in agreement with you because having sat on the council at the time when all that was going on, there were things that the developers did which are unseen really. I mean, the fact is, they developed the Vale first to then finance all the decontamination of the land that was polluted by the Albright site and the power station site. So vast sums of money went into all that lot there, putting the new locks in, all that sort of stuff, which
So
they
it was
weren't
their choice to
necessarily
do
going
it,
to
though, wasn't
benefit from.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were a couple of shops built, weren't there? There was a school built. There was a lot of 106 money coming out of the back of it, some of which has probably never been spent.
No.
What happened to the water facility, which was going to get done?
I don't, we're not saying they didn't do anything. What I think the point is they generally come in and they chose to come in on that piece of land.
I don't disagree
Yeah,
with you,
yeah.
but-
It's just I think they all could all do better. But I think again it goes back to the comment I made earlier. The government has to change the rules on how they're allowed to build in areas, and there has to be a clear written in blood stipulation. So yeah. Going back to this report, has anybody got any questions on it? I think they get better as they go because it kind of the first one was like, yeah, very wordy. This one's they're getting better. So thank you, Laura. It's much appreciated. Does anybody have any questions on it? No.
Sorry, it was only if there was any. I presume that they've all been exhausted, Wendy. But is there no other opportunity other than spring to hold the winter wellbeing event?
That's a good question, Emma. There is a reason why it's being held in the spring. I will ask Laura to update you because there was a very specific reason why it was chosen to move. I think it's got something to do with the partners that she's working with.
Okay, yeah, I didn't know, given if the decision was made prior to Somerset Hall opening up again, if that makes sense, that would have moved any other bookings around. But that was only my sort of observation rather than anything else.
No, I don't think it was to do with the bookings. I think it's something to do with the availability of the partners she's working with.
Yes.
Can we just let us all know on that one?
Yes, of
please?
course.
Yeah, just so we kind of know what's going on, that was all.
Yes.
I kind of agree with Eric. If it was possible to put a winter one on, I think it would be more than beneficial to the residents if we could do it. And if we had to use some of the cost of living fund to do that, that's what it's there for.
Yeah.
Could we not fund one that's running, say, early December?
I'll find out.
After that pot.
I'll find out. Yeah.
Just as a suggestion. I don't know. Laura's the expert, not me. So, otherwise, that's it. Thank you all for attending. Hopefully, you get well soon, Emma. And those that aren't here this evening that are poorly, hope you all get better soon. The meeting is officially closed at 8:32 p.m. and the next meeting is 26th of October. Thank you all.